Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
This is A Different Perspective with Kevin Randle. A retired U.S. Lieutenant Colonel, Kevin Randle has been studying UFOs for nearly 50 years. Kevin has investigated some of the most famous UFO cases in the world and has been consulted for dozens of documentaries about UFOs. Considered one of the leading experts into the Roswell UFO crash of 1947, Kevin has written more than 25 books about UFOs, including the recently published Roswell in the 21st Century. Now, here is the host of A Different Perspective, Kevin Randle.
And the introduction was correct. I am indeed Kevin Randle, and I am indeed the host of A Different Perspective. This is a special report with Terry Lovelace, who will join us in just a moment. I just wanted to make a couple of statements here. First, the bad news. This will probably be the last special report. I had started these a number of months ago when the mood moved me to do a program about some aspect of the UFO community. For example, Christopher Montgomery had said some things about me that were untrue, so I wanted to interview him on the radio and get his perspective on these sorts of things and maybe clear up some of the problems. And then there were other things came up that were interesting. We had Keith Blaskett on the show talking about Treasure Quest because I was interested in his perspective on the reality of that program. But in the last month, and now moving into May later on, I've noticed we're doing these things practically every week again. So it's no longer a special report. So the good news is, I think of this next show next week with my friend John Greenwald as being the first show of the second season. So we will be back, of course, next week with John Greenwald, and following that we'll have I have other guests lined up probably until the end of May. So we're good to go for quite a bit of these. And now we move on today's program with Terry Lovelace, who is a native of St. Louis, Missouri, but I won't hold that against him. After high school, he served from 1973 to 1979 in the U.S. Air Force as a medic, EMT. He spent his enlistment assigned to Whiteman Air Force Base Hospital emergency room as a first responder. Whiteman Air Force Base at one point was the home of the 509th Bomb Group, which had been the unit in Roswell back in 1947. As a bit of a digression, I guess, I don't know. He completed a bachelor's degree in psychology cum laude at Park University and a law degree at Western Michigan. So he is a lawyer, people. So be careful what you say to him. He was admitted to the bar and practiced law in Michigan, Vermont, and the U.S. territory of American Samoa. In 1979, while wilderness camping in an Arkansas state park, he and a friend were abducted and subjected to painful medical procedures. What followed was a lifetime of nightmares for fear of losing his job and damage to his standing in the legal community. He never disclosed the encounter until 2012, when a routine x-ray of his leg found an anomalous object in his knee. In 2018, he disclosed his experience in a book, Incident at Devil's Den, which is available on Amazon as an ebook, audiobooks, and as a paper book. He'll be a speaker at the Contact in the Desert, May 31st through June 3rd at Indian Wells, Palm Springs. Welcome to A Different Perspective.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
I, of course, have your book and have been looking through it. Last week, we had on Dr. Michael Master. I couldn't remember his last name for some reason. Michael Master. And yes. I bring this up simply because I asked him a question that kind of evolved out of your book, and I'll ask you the question as well. But I asked him if there had been any negative feedback, any negative connotations to his UFO experiences. His father had seen something when he was a kid, and apparently they talked about it all the time, and there were no sort of negative connotations involved in it. But I noticed in your book, it seemed that everybody reacted very poorly to your UFO experiences. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. My first UFO experience, I was age 8. 1963, I was in my backyard in St. Louis, Missouri. It's an urban area, a lot of cars, a lot of kids, a lot of activity going on. I'm in my backyard. I'm playing with a bow and arrow, and I'm loading an arrow into the notch of my bow and looking down, and I see a shadow, a perfect circular shadow move across my feet. And I look up, and directly over my head, I shouldn't say directly over my head, thank God, probably about maybe 30 feet, maybe 40 feet, there's a perfectly round silver disc. And I'm just awestruck. And I am looking at this thing, and it's wobbling a little bit in the breeze. And for some reason, Kevin, and I don't remember doing it, I laid down in the grass to look up at it, thinking I could get a better view of it by taking that posture for some reason. And I watched this thing just kind of trying to drink in everything my eyes could take in. Just very excited, not an ounce of fear. And the thing shot off from 0 to 500 miles an hour to just a hole in the sky. And I yelled, "Mom!" And of course, my mom thinks I took my bow and arrow and shot a neighbor in the head or something. She comes running. And I'm like, "Mom, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it?" And she's like, stop yelling. The neighbor's going to think there's something wrong with you. And she drags me in the house. And I can tell you, as a child at age 8 in the 1960s, children were discounted. I mean, they were, I was flat told, I don't know what you saw, but it was not a flying saucer. And I learned pretty quickly there were negative connotations to telling anyone.
Was her reaction, though, maybe fear of that unknown as opposed to something else? The idea of flying saucers scared her?
I really think that in that time and in that day and age, there was a sense of uniformity. There was everyone played their roles in the 1960s, and I don't know how to say it, but it was something out of the norm. Even though on television there were space shows and shows about UFOs and about aliens, but it was a break in conformity, and I think that was the issue.
I was thinking about that as you were talking here, and I was a little bit older in the 1960s, but and we lived in Aurora, Colorado, which is not all that far from Missouri. Just across Kansas, and who cares about Kansas? Everybody in the neighborhood knew of my interest in UFOs, and I think my mother sort of sparked that interest back then. And there didn't seem to be anything wrong with looking at UFOs or talking about UFOs. So, I find it interesting that your experience is so opposite of that.
Yeah, it was 180 degrees opposite of that. And that may have been my parents were both, they were farm people from rural Arkansas. Neither of my parents completed high school. And I think that, I think it was just a different mindset. I think different time, different place, I don't know, but I ran into a lot of negativity. I can tell you this, in March of 2018, when I published this book on Amazon, that my friends in the legal community, 80% of them were very, very supportive, but another 20% were like, have you lost your mind? What is wrong with you? So that was interesting, but, no regrets at all about making it public. I don't think it would have been as well received even 5 years ago as it has been today.
Yeah, I find that really hard to accept, and here's why. When I graduated from college, I was commissioned into the Air Force and went to Richards-Gebaur Air Force Base in Kansas City. We called it Dickie Goober, for those of you who are familiar with it. And it had come out that I had been interested in UFOs. I'd been writing articles about UFOs in national magazines. And because I became an intelligence officer, I required a top secret clearance. And none of that ever adversely affected my military career. So I'm just, kind of flabbergasted at the response that you sort of garnered.
Well, and I think you were probably an officer where I was an enlisted guy. And I think that makes a difference. But I don't know. My story wasn't embraced. And maybe it would have been. I don't know. But for fear of damage to my legal career, I didn't want to come out with it. Not until I'd retired.
Well, I'm not thinking. I'm just thinking that the responses that I held, and when I got to Richards-Gebaur, I was introduced to people, and they took me out to lunch. And one of the guys was talking about UFOs and knew my interest. And he said, "I read this article about blah blah blah," and I said, "Well, that's interesting. I wrote it." And he came up with another article and says, "Yeah, that was mine too." And it was, and then when I moved into the Army and that sort of thing, there was never any negative connotation. And I required top secret clearances, and they always came through. They didn't say, "Well, this guy can't be trusted because he believes in flying saucers." So, but I can understand as an attorney that might not be the best course of action to take.
Yeah. Well, people rely on you. They trust you with their property. They trust you with, in some cases, their lives. So, they're looking for stability. They're looking for somebody who's rock solid and stable. And, I don't know. I just don't think the two would have mixed. The legal community. I think there are some, and you may disagree, but I think there are some professions, law enforcement, academia, maybe commercial airline pilots, and you may disagree, air traffic controllers, where there is a stigma against being vocal about the subject.
Well, let's take a break, and we'll get back to this in just a minute. We've got to go away for a moment or two here. I'm with Terry Lovelace. His book is Incident at Devil's Den, which tells about his abduction experiences. I'll have more information up on my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And if you get a chance, take a look at xzbn.net, and you can find a whole list of programming for the paranormal and the unusual that might interest you. We will be back right after this, so stick around.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
As promised just minutes ago, I am back with Terry Lovelace. His book is Incident Devil's Den. We were talking about, I guess, the dichotomy of experiences between the reaction of people who know us and our UFO interest. And you were talking about people who, in professions, who might not want to mention their UFO sightings because it would adversely affect their careers. And I can point to examples where that's true. Airline pilots sometimes find themselves in a great deal of trouble reporting UFOs and that sort of thing. So there is that dichotomy going there, so I can understand that. I was just a little surprised that I guess the reaction as a child, when you were a child, was as negative as it was.
Yeah. Well, my mother's words stick in my head. And actually, it was my father's words where you can't go around the neighborhood telling people you saw a UFO. They'll think there's something wrong with you. They'll think there's something wrong with us. And, my neighbor, my parents, my family, always concerned about what the neighbors were thinking. So, I think that had a lot to do with it.
I can understand that. Now, that wasn't, as a child, that wasn't your only problems. You were, I guess, had nightmares and things of that nature?
I had a very bizarre experience with, and this is hard to believe, but I had 4 little, they looked like circus monkeys that would appear in my room and ask me to go with them. And one of the nightmares I've had over the years was this monkey, the one closest to my head, would always hold out a paw, and they spoke, and I heard their voice clear in my head. It was, clear as a bell, audibly inside my head, but their mouths never moved. They had these masks, and this is hard to explain in a couple of seconds, but this in real life, this monkey held out a monkey's paw for me to hold on to. And in these nightmares that have plagued me, the monkey holds out a paw, but in the nightmare, it's not a paw. It's these 4 long, ugly fingers. And for some reason, that just wigs me out. And I had a series of these dreams. And
Well, do you think those related to your UFO experience?
they were, but the other way around. I had the monkey dreams, and then after the UFO experience, those stopped. I never had another visit from a monkey after this UFO experience.
You mean the abduction at Devil's Den?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I meant your sighting, and did that kind of relate to the sighting you had as an 8-year-old?
I'm not sure. I thought did 1977.
What? No, you said that as an 8-year-old boy you'd seen this craft over you, and then the dreams, the monkey dreams started, and I just wondered if those dreams might have been related to that sighting as an 8-year-old.
Yes, I think so. Absolutely.
Were they? Well, I guess the problem. Are you familiar with hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucination?
I am. I'm familiar with
Okay.
both. Yes.
Okay. And for the listeners, these are hallucinations that are connected to sleep paralysis, a state of either falling asleep or waking up. You find yourself in a state of paralysis, unable to move. And about 80% of the time, there's a feeling of an entity of some kind in the room. They're usually short-lived, and once you can move something, it breaks the spell and everything is back to normal. And I just wondered if this could be a manifestation of something like that.
Well, that would make sense, because as a child, as soon as the click of the hall light went on, the monkeys would vanish in a twirl of shadows. So in that regard, that's very possible. And I go out of my way in my book to try to be as objective as possible. These are my experiences. This is what happened to me. But I can't really draw any conclusions and say, these were monkeys, or this was just my experience. Now, my 1977 event, that was a very different story.
Well, let's jump to that then. It's possible that the monkey dreams were some kind of a hypnopompic or hypnagogic hallucination. Maybe not. We don't know. Let's move to the 1977 event. Get us involved in that.
Sure. I'd worked with my best friend in the world. We worked night shift at the emergency room, drove an ambulance, and we worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. that night shift, because I was taking evening classes at the college, and he liked to watch the night sky. He was an amateur astronomer, so the night shift just kind of fit, and we became the best of friends. This
was while you were still in the Air Force.
Yes, on active duty, 1977, okay. 2 years left in my enlistment. And my buddy comes up to me. I call him Tobias, or Toby in the book. Toby comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, I got an idea. Let's go camping." And I'm like, "Toby, are you nuts, man?" Because neither one of us. I said, "We're city kids, Toby. I grew up in St. Louis City. He came from Flint, Michigan. We'd never been camping in our lives."
Well, let me break in here just to make a comment, because as an old Army guy, we did camping, and it's never been exciting for me. I do not want to go camping if I can avoid it at all possible. My idea of roughing it is staying in a Ramada Inn without a remote control for the TV and no premium channels, no HBO. That's my idea of roughing it. Okay, so he decides you guys should go camping, and you're in Arkansas.
Yes, we did. And we didn't want to spend the night in the campground because he needed a place without light pollution, and I was a photographer, amateur photographer, and I had some new telephoto lenses I wanted to try out. We wanted to be wilderness. We wanted to make this a wilderness adventure. So we trespassed, and we went deep into the heart of Devil's Den Park, past the chains, in an area where we weren't supposed to be. But we found a beautiful spot of high ground and made camp on top of this spot of high ground. And there were a series of missteps I won't go into. But to jump to the heart of the thing, we're sitting around the campfire. And I remember thinking, this must be the allure. This must be what people like about camping. Because up to that point, it was fairly pleasant. And that's when my buddy turns his head to the left and he says, "Hey, man, were those there before?" And he's looking at something, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he points out to me, and there were 3 bright stars. Kevin, they were about as bright as the North Star, each one. They were on the western horizon. They were too far above the horizon to have been like from a road or a parking lot, and they were stationary. And that triangular configuration didn't fit any aircraft headlights that we could think of. So we're looking at this thing, trying to figure out what it could be, and it moved. And they moved in unison. And at first they turned like they were on an axis, and they rotated about 3/4 of a turn. And we are excited. We are going crazy. And while we're talking about this, then it starts to climb higher into the sky. And I should mention that immediately, just minutes before he saw these stars, I noticed a change in the vibe of the campground. I don't know how to describe this other than it was just a sensory change. It was, and I know it sounds cliche, I swear it's true, the crickets and the tree frogs and all that stuff were gone. Even the breeze we'd enjoyed earlier was gone. It was dead still. And that unnerved me. And then we saw these lights, and then we're excited. And as they climb higher into the sky, we're excited for a while, and then this goes on over the span of about an hour. And as it climbs into the sky, the 3 points of light expand, and they always remain equidistant to one another. And it's getting bigger, and it's climbing into the night sky. And I asked my buddy Toby, who's the astronomer, I'm saying, like, Toby, are these things in our atmosphere? Are they like at cruising altitude, or are we seeing something outside our solar system? What are we looking at? And he's like, I have no idea. And about this time, I had the sensation of calm wash over me, and there really was a lull in our conversation. We hardly spoke. There was hardly a dozen words spoke between us. And we just watched this thing. And we watched it, and it got bigger. And again, it was a beautiful night. There were just a billion stars out. And it was moving, and it would occasionally turn and do like somersaults. But it was moving with purpose. It wasn't just tumbling through the air. And sure enough, the area inside the 3 stars was jet black, much darker than the surrounding blue sky of the night. So we knew we were looking at a solid object. And the closer it got, the more sedated I felt. And not only sedated, but almost disinterested to a point. Inappropriately disinterested. I don't understand that. I don't understand it to this day. But instead of being, we were just inappropriately disinterested. I'll leave it lay at that. And it moved across the meadow. We were sitting on top of this big open field on high ground. And
let me interrupt here, because I'm going to have to take a break.
Sure.
And we'll get to the object actually getting to you in the next segment here, and what happens when it gets close enough to interact with you. I'm joined with by Terry Lovelace. The book is Incident at Devil's Den. I don't know why I just want to say Devil's Den. My blog is www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, which talks about lots of UFO related things and mysteries of lost gold and buried treasures as well, for some bizarre reason. I don't know how I got into that. We are on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and we will be back right after this, so stick around.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Sometimes I just want to listen to the bumper music rather than get back into the program. But I know people want to listen to my dulcet tones. So I'm back. I am joined by Terry Lovelace. We were talking about his experiences, the incident at Devil's Den. He's got the UFO sighted. It's got 3 lights. There's a black shape behind the lights. It's coming toward him. He's relaxed. Let's get into the real meat of this. The object obviously approaches close enough. You guys interact with it in some fashion. Go.
We do. There's a shadow. It gets close enough that we see a dark shadow move across that meadow, and then this thing stopped. And I might mention that there were those 3 points of light that were so bright. Once it hit its ceiling, it dimmed those lights down. So when it descended, it was about 3,000. I'm guessing 3,000 feet over our head, and it was enormous. And we couldn't see anything but the bottom of it, of course. And the lights on 3 points were dim at this point, and we're stunned. We're stunned, but we're also I want to say sedated. We weren't flipped out. I mean, it was just an odd experience. And while we're sitting there, my friend Toby picks up a flashlight and says, "I'm going to try to signal it." And I was too far away to snatch it out of his hand, and he held it above his head.
I was going to say, haven't you guys ever seen a horror movie? The last thing you want to do is signal the thing that's coming at you.
Yeah. I mean, but he does. And as soon as he does, a light from the center of this thing shoots down, and it's a visible beam of light, and it's a white light. It's like a searchlight cutting through thick fog, where it's a visible beam. That's what this was like. And it was only about 6 inches in diameter, and it landed square in the center of our campfire for some reason. And we could follow, because it was a visible stream of light, we could follow it. It just became a white line because as it got further up into the sky. But we could see that it went to the center of this triangle that was over our heads. And we're both looking at that, and I don't think we said a word. And it was on there for maybe a minute, maybe 2, and then it's gone. It just like someone flips a switch and it's off. And then in its stead, there comes this a laser, what I call a laser. In 1977, lasers were a brand new concept. And this purplish red light comes from the same center of the underneath of the ship. At least we assume that's where it's from. It's so small, but it's very bright. It's visible in the night sky. And it would hit a spot in the campsite and then turn off and then turn back on in another area and then flip off and then turn back on in another, and then do that repetitiously over and over and over again quickly. So it gave the illusion that this light was dancing all around the campsite. And I remember thinking the thing is scanning us. and it hit me in the head and the chest, and I know it hit my buddy, and I didn't feel any sensation whatsoever. And it struck my car, struck the tent. It just kind of danced around the campsite, and this lasted for a couple of minutes, maybe. And then it turns off, and we're sitting there just stunned, and just not with it. And my friend says, "Show's over," and we picked up our yellow inflatable air mattresses, and we went inside our tent, threw them down, and I didn't bother to take off my boots or anything. I fell on top of my mattress, and I was out. And the next thing that I remember was lights, light green, blue, yellow, brilliant lights. I mean, like light up a ballpark kind of lights. And coming through the canvas of the tent. And I wake up, but I'm not with it. I'm not myself. I'm out of it. And I remember thinking, where am I? What is this? My first thought was, these must be overhead lights from a park ranger's truck or something. And there's a hum, there's a mechanical noise. And I'm thinking, a generator maybe? A generator in the back of a park ranger's truck? I don't know. And then one of these flashes of lights, I can see my buddy Toby is on his hands and knees. It's a tiny tent. And he's peeled back his flap and he's looking out. And in one of these flashes of light, I could see Toby's African American, and there were these tracks of tears. And when the light would hit, they were very visible on his face. And that wigged me out. I thought, my God, what could make this guy move this guy to tears? And that scared me. And I'm like, Toby, what is it, man? What's out there? And he's like, shh, they're still out there. They're still out there. And he's trying to get me to be quiet. And he's hyperventilating. And I'm like, Toby, you got to slow your breathing down, man. I get to my knees. I realize I'm in a lot of pain. Every bone in my body aches. I get to my knees. I flip back my portion of the tent a couple inches, and I look out. And in this meadow, there are maybe a dozen, maybe 15 of these little kids, what I took to be little kids, and they're paired up in twos and threes, and they're milling around this meadow. And we had heard, before I got to my knees, I had heard rustling of leaves and things outside the campsite. So they were out there. And I'm like, Toby, what's the deal, man? What are these little kids doing out there? And I'm still in a fog. And Toby says to me, he says, man, those ain't no little kids, Terry. They took us. Don't you remember? And then I did. And I didn't have this linear memory of what happened.
So you woke up and the abduction had taken place.
Correct.
And now in today's environment, do you remember what happened during that abduction?
Yes, I recall bits and pieces of it. I do. And I'll tell you what happened was I had you're familiar with the Office of Special Investigation, I know. The OSI is the security police. OSI is to the Air Force what NCIS is to the Navy. And they did an interrogation of me. And the problem that I had was they thought that I took pictures of this thing. I had this reputation of being a photographer in the hospital squadron. And, I left my camera at home. And
let me interrupt, because you've gone off on a couple of tangents here, and
I have.
It's a bit confusing for me, and I'm going to run out of time for the whole show if I'm not careful here.
Yes.
So let's deal with the abduction aspect of it right now. Do you remember being on the ship or in the craft or whatever?
I do. I have several memories of being in the ship.
What did you see?
Here's what I saw. The inside of the ship looked twice or three times as big as the outside looked. I mean, this thing was as big as a 5-story office building. Inside, it looked like a stadium. It was incredible because it didn't match. Also, I was nude, and I was standing next to my buddy, and we were holding our clothes in our hands, and we were frozen. And I couldn't move anything except my eyes. And my eyes are darting all around, and I'm trying to take in as much of this thing as I can. And I have some memories. I've drawn some images of it. Luckily, I drew them back in 1978 and kept the drawings. And I saw this guy. There were these little gray guys running around. And I think those things, by the way, I think they're robots. I don't think they're living beings. I think there's some kind of AI and biological blend. But they're running around, and there's this taller being that's not gray. He's kind of an ashen color, and he has large eyes, but not grotesquely large, like what you see on television or movies. And I'm straining my eyes to the left to see him, because he's obviously in charge. And he, I think, just by happenstance turns toward me, and we locked eyes for a second. And oh my God, and in that second, this guy was in my head. I mean, he knew me. I mean, he knew who I was. He knew my secrets. He knew my wife. He knew everything about me. And I just got mirrored back from him in his black eyes, just nothing but raw intellect. It was frightening. And it's the centerpiece of a nightmare that I've had for 40 years. It was extremely frightening experience. I also recall some images from inside the ship. There was a design like a tree branch, and I'm told it's a fractal pattern. For those who understand fractal geometry, and there were other human beings inside the ship. Now there were about 6 or 7 of these guys that wore sand-colored flight suits. They were definitely human beings, and they had orange circular insignias on their shoulders and where their name tag would be across their chest. And these people ignored us, absolutely would not make eye contact with us. They were young guys in their 20s. One of them was a female, a young a Latino woman, short, petite, hair in a ponytail. And this one guy I know that they were crew members of the ship, because the one guy had a panel on the side of the thing open, and he was doing something inside this panel. So
well, let me interrupt here, because once again we've come up against a break, so we have to go
Sure.
ahead with that. We're talking with Terry Lovelace about his abduction experiences. We finally got him onto the ship here, and we're about to run out of time completely for the show, so we'll have to speed it up. And I also want to explore the idea of the OSI interrogation that took place, because that's interesting when you relate it to some other UFO cases. The book is called Incident at Devil's Den. It's on Amazon. It's an ebook. You can get it as an audiobook and a paperback. I'll have more information, a little bit more information, at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And I probably should mention the books are Roswell in the 21st Century, Encounter in the Desert, which deals with the Lonnie Zamora case, and case MJ12, which has been updated for this part of the millennium. We will be back right after this.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
SIMULTV.com.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
SIMULTV.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. SIMULTV.com.
I am here with Terry Lovelace. We're talking about his abduction experiences. I finally got him on the ship. He's looking around. You said there were human crew members?
There absolutely were human crew members on that board. There were 6 or 7. I want to say 7. Young guys, military crew, haircuts, boots, tan-colored flight suits. But perhaps they weren't human. I don't know. Boy, they sure look human to me.
Were you examined? I take it you were examined?
I was. That was part of we were standing there nude, holding our clothes. And again, at one point, Toby's standing next to me. At the next point, he's not. And then I can hear him screaming. And I can hear him screaming. And that scares me to death. Then I heard a woman screaming. And then I recall being manhandled under this table. I shouldn't say manhandled because I was just frozen more or less onto an exam table that was like porcelain in a white room that was incredibly brightly lit. And the table was warm. And I remember thinking I was expecting it to be cold because it looked like porcelain. I thought, there's been other bodies on here is why it's so warm. And I recall screaming, and I am in a prone position on my back, and I fill in my lungs with air, and I'm screaming as loud as I can, and I can glance down and see my chest rise, and I can't hear anything, but I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And there's this insect-looking thing. I don't know how high this table is off the ground, so I don't know how tall this thing was. But it turned, and when it did, it looked at me, and it had the triangular-shaped head. It had the inside multi-lensed eyes, bulbous, and it spoke to me telepathically, and it said, "Why are you screaming? You know we don't hurt you. You know we're going to take you back." And it took a green thing, like an appendage, and tapped me on my forehead, and I was out. And that was my last memory aboard the ship.
Okay, so you wake up in the tent. Toby's looking out the tent. You see the creatures, the beings out in the tent. But I want before we run out of time here, I want to get to how did the OSI learn about this?
My guess is the park rangers. I don't know this for certain, but it makes sense that the park rangers, because when we left, when this thing took off, we ran to my car and we left our tent, his backpack, we left everything. I took nothing but my keys and my wallet. We were so terrified, and we drove back to the base, and it was crazy. There was a change in our relationship, and that there wasn't hardly a word said between us, and we were ordered actually to have no contact with one another. And some weeks later, I was called to the OSI office, and they sent a car to pick me up. And first time I'd ever been in a police car, no handles. Well, it was just an odd experience. They took me into OSI headquarters. We walked down a hall that was lined with different offices. There were little interrogation rooms, A, B, C, D. I was in room D. And the driver who took me there opened the door and said, "Someone will be with you shortly." And I went in, and the door shut like a bank vault. I knew it was locked. And there was a table and an old military desk, the gray kind, with the gray padded chair, and 3 fiberglass chairs in each corner, and obviously a mirror, obviously a two-way affair. I mean, nobody's going to be grooming themselves inside this interrogation room. So, and I sat there for like 3 hours, and the 2 OSI agents, the guys that came and interrogated me when I was in the hospital, came into the office, came into this little interrogation room, and said, "Well, first thing he did was kick me out of the comfortable chair and make me take a fiberglass one." He says, "You're going to be hypnotized today." And I said, "No, I didn't know that." And he says, and they're going to give you some medication and it'll help you relax and help you remember things. And I said, yes, sir, I understand, sir, but why? And he went ballistic. And he pulled out of his briefcase a piece of paper with my signature on it and slammed it on the desk in front of me and said, that's all the why I need, son. Now, if you want to withdraw your consent, you can do so. And I'll just see you at your court-martial. You don't have, you have that right. You can withdraw your consent. Because they saw me in the hospital when I was in bad shape. And one of the things they did was they laid out forms for me to sign. And one of the forms I signed was for consent to hypnotic regression and something about chemical enhancement. And
well, we've missed a step here, which you said they came and visited you in the hospital. When did you end up in the hospital?
They did. As soon as we got back from the campground, I dropped him off at my house, at his house. I went to my house. I had 103 fever. I had a sunburn. Wasn't blistered, but sunburned all over my body, soles of my feet, every inch of my skin. My wife took me to the hospital. We were severely dehydrated. I spent 3 days and 2 nights in the hospital. And on my second night there, as my nurse comes in, these 2 OSI agents, 2 guys in suits, with the one guy's a major with this flat top haircut, the square jaw kind of guy, obviously a cop. And they came in and they wanted to know, what were you guys doing down there? Do you got a little marijuana plot down there? Is that what you were doing down there? Why would you leave your campground in the middle of the night? And just started firing all these questions at me. And I told them the truth except about the UFO. I did not tell them. And he said, your buddy said you saw some funny lights in the sky. Tell me about that. And I said, well, sir, I don't remember much about that. And I didn't want to budge from that. But the thing that's important about this is that the nurse and the captain, his sidekick, left the room. The door is shut. It's just me and this OSI major. And he bends down close to my ear and he drops the hard guy affect on his face. And he says, son, I know, and you two knuckleheads stumbled onto something out there. And all I want to know is how many pictures you took of it and where's the film. That's all I want. I just want your film. And he dropped a business card on my desk on my left side table and left.
Well,
then,
if they were in civilian clothes, suits.
They were in blue suits.
Did they introduce themselves? I'm Major so and so. This is Captain so and so.
They did, and they showed me ID. That's how I knew the one was a major and one was a captain. The major did all the talking.
They tend to do that.
They, what's funny is I had I in the back of my book I have a email address, and I said if you've had an experience, contact me. And I had a woman contact me who used all the right jargon. I believe her. She said that her husband was a trained psychologist who worked for the Air Force during this time period, and his job was to use sodium amytal and hypnosis in these types of situations, whatever these types of situations encompass. So I think that kind of validates, at least in my mind, it validates what I went through. But while I'm in there, there's a knock at the door, and the 2 AOSI agents open the door, and in comes this guy who carries himself like a priest, not like a military officer, you know what I mean. And he's wearing oak leaves, but no name tag. And he shakes my hand, and he's like, Sergeant Lovelace, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Major Brownfield. And I'm like, okay, sir. And he says, and for today's little exercise, you can call me Brad. That is my name. And I thought, whoa, this guy was just, he was creepy, you know? And he had this little shaving kit that had the sodium amytal already drawn up in a syringe. And he sat down with me and he said, have you ever been hypnotized before? And I said, no. And he says, well, it's important that you cooperate and let the medicine do its work and just, listen to the sound of my voice. Now, this guy had a voice like a radio announcer. I mean, just real smooth and easy to listen to. And I had taken a few psych classes, my undergraduates in psychology, and I was determined. I knew I couldn't resist the drug, but I knew that I couldn't be hypnotized against my will. And what I did was when he tried to hypnotize me, he did that, we're going to go down the flight of stairs. Take that first step, feeling relaxed, feeling comfortable. Take that next step, Terry, feeling at ease, feeling 10 times more relaxed. And on and on and on until he gets to the bottom. And in my mind's eye, I'm going just the opposite. I'm going up the stairwell. And I'm trying to covertly tense my toes, my buttocks, my muscles, so that I'm not fully relaxed. And crazy as it sounds, I'm playing Beatle music in my head to try to avoid everything I can to not surrender my entire mind to this guy.
Well, I hate to interrupt you at this point because it's fascinating, but I'm out of time.
Oh.
We got the OSI talking to you. We've got a little bit of information about the event. It's the incident at Devil's Den. It's at, I guess your website is www.terrylovelace.com.
Yes.
So you can take a look at that and that sort of thing. I'd like to thank you for taking time today talking to us about your experiences and what you went through. I'm fascinated by the OSI connection in it, of course.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. I've read your books. I've seen you on television. I think you're an icon in this UFO culture. Honestly,
the check is in the mail.
Good.
Thank you so much for visiting with us, and we'll try to get you back sometime.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Okay. You have a good day. Once again, this was a different perspective, a final special report that frightens people, I guess, for some reason. The website for me is www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And as I say, take a look at xzbn.net, and you'll find a list of different radio programs and different interests of people dealing with the paranormal and UFOs. So you can find other things that may interest you about that. I will be back next week with John Greenwald, and we'll be talking about his book and the Black Vault. And coming up, I'm going to try to get Robert Charles Cornett on the show, and he and I partnered on some of the early investigations in the Project Blue Book files and may have been the two first civilians to see it. I will be back in 167 hours with another show, so be looking for us. Thank you.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.